allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, sorry. Roll call, Kev.
Mrs. Brute. Mr. Kramer.
Here.
Mr. Meningini. Mr. Marrara.
Here.
Mrs. Steigerwald.
Here.
Do I have motions to excuse? You want to take that? Do I have motions?
I will make a motion to excuse Mr. Gamagini and Mrs. Brew.
I second it.
This is correct.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Marrara.
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald.
Yes.
Can we get approval of the agenda? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I second it.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Marrara.
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald.
Yes.
Approve the minutes, regular meeting, January 22nd, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented for January 22, 2025.
Support.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Marrara.
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald.
Yes.
Kev, I thought it was ladies first, but okay, we'll go with this. I'm just joking.
I can change that.
We got to put him on the spot a little bit his first time doing it, right?
Yes, everybody.
Okay, approval of manifest 2025-03 in the amount of $361,373.92. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the manifest 2025-03 in the amount of $361,373.92.
Support.
Mrs. Steigerwald.
Yes.
Mr. Marrara.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Attaboy, Kev. Manifest questions, previous manifest questions, I see we have none. Public comments on any item of interest. Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Our girl mayor says no, we're moving on. Agenda items, same thing. Anyone in attendance wish to address the council on any agenda item? Actionable items. Item 1. Mr. Stoltman.
So this is our 25-26 budget workshop schedule. We had this as a discussion item at the previous meeting to give you guys time to look at your calendars to see if our proposed, which was just kind of a example, but every Monday workshop from March basically through April and then into our public hearings for budget adoption in late May or June. So if the Monday schedule starting in March works, again, these are, we don't have a specific fund for each date at this time. What's in my memo is from the last one, which is just an example of what it could look like. They can change. We may not have one every single time. We'll notice that as it is a public meeting, but it's to approve that one day.
And we may have two if we can. We'll get as many in as we can at each session, correct?
Yes, yeah. There'll be typically probably one or two, depending on, some of them are a little larger, a little more complicated than others that might take 2 workshops.
For sure,
themselves.
for sure.
But yeah, we will try to pair them. Some of this can be determined based on which ones are currently ready leading up to that.
Brett, you good with that?
Yeah, the only thing I have a question on is time. I don't see the time posted. I do believe Mr. Meningini said that
Nothing before 5?
5 or 5:30, so
It was something like that.
I
Well,
didn't discuss 5 o'clock.
5 was it?
I think it was 5. He cannot get here any earlier than 5 o'clock.
I think that's what we ended up doing last year as well.
Yeah, so if we wanted to, we talked about running before council meetings on Wednesdays to take advantage since we're going to be here anyway. But he said the earliest he can get here was 5 before a meeting, so. And if that changes, Rico, if you're listening and watching, let us know. Okay.
So if you want to make a motion to kind of approve the workshop schedule for Mondays beginning March 3rd at 5 o'clock, would start to become our regular schedule for that.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 budget workshop and adopt the schedule as presented.
I second.
Mrs. Steigerwald,
Yes.
Mr. Mararo,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Agenda item, action item number 2, purchase of a new police vehicle. Dan?
So again, this is an item we discussed, I believe, 2 meetings ago. This stems from the police. Every 2 years, we get a rural development grant to cover the majority of a police vehicle. In the last 3 years, we have not received those funds. They don't know if we'll receive those funds, and now we don't know the status on when, if that will happen. So we are more than 3 years behind at this point in turning over the police vehicles. So in our budgets, when we anticipate the grant, we still budget for the entirety of the vehicle, which we have done in this year's budget. So what we've been discussing is moving past the possibility of the grant and purchasing the vehicle outright. When we spoke about it at the last meeting, council wanted us to inquire on some local dealers of the vehicles. We did that. The Ford dealer locally came close on the truck, not as close for the Interceptor. Again, some dealerships are in the MI deal portal, which means they have been pre-negotiated through the state, and that's generally where the best deals come from. We looked locally at Chevrolet. They didn't think they could get the vehicles for the police. So we looked at those other options. As of right now, we still think the best option is the Ford Interceptor. That is the SUV, especially for kind of the catch-all needs of the department. And the LaFontaine, Ford, and Lansing is an MI dealer, and they did have the best price. So in your packet, you'll see prices for all the vehicles that were quoted, and then the associated extra cost for the outfitting that we generally do with Elcom. There's very few companies that do the outfitting for the radios and the sirens and the lights and all of that. So each one is about the same, but some have a little different. The truck was a little more. So if the council would like us to proceed with the outright purchase, our recommendation is the Ford Interceptor, and the best price being LaFontaine. And I broke down that total cost for you. The total of everything is $63,053.81. That includes $46,172 for the vehicle, $14,091.81 for the Elcom cost. That's all of your equipment. And then we have graphics and I don't know, the signals pack for the 150. That's part of the radar.
It's to reuse the radar unit. It's new brackets that you have to install on that different vehicle.
And we are reusing as much equipment as we can. And Chief Wilkie is here to answer any questions about the vehicle and the needs. We kind of hope that if the grants come up again, we'd then like to start pursuing the pickup truck as we discussed. But this is the cheaper option for the outright cost, and again, I think fits the better role for what we need right now.
Brett, questions, concerns, comments?
I do not have any.
I do not have any questions.
Unfortunately, I do. Or fortunately, I guess, maybe. So, again, guys, I know we were pretty interested in replacing these things with trucks, and I do understand the need to transport, whatever you want to call them, folks, when we have to transport them. But we still have a car that we have 3 cars, right? I mean, does it make more sense to me to get that truck thing going? Because I really want to start handing these things down to, Parks and Rec and Streets Department and so many other places. Maybe next year go with the SUV option. Just a thought.
At some point, I would agree that, they start to use.
Because we're not going to get rid of all the cars when this thing comes in, is my point.
One
right?
would have to be removed because we.
Correct.
It'll become another pool car.
Right. So we'll have 2 cars and then a truck. And then next year, we could replace the next car with the SUV like you want, and that way would give us, because now we're just gonna have another pool car instead of having a truck that's getting to a point where we can hand that down to, we have real needs with that. Brick, you weren't here for some of it, but Brett and I were, and we had to go and spend quite a bit of money to get some trucks, because we needed trucks. And this is where these guys came up with this great idea about getting trucks in the department that could be then transferred out at their end of life for the police department into other departments in the city. And somebody's gonna have to tell me why we're not buying a truck, I guess.
Well, again, I think it's a couple reasons. One, it's, this would be an outright cost, so it is the cheaper option for us to purchase outright. Right now, with, the consensus of our officers in that department is the SUV would be better suited for everyone, especially if we're uncertain when we might get another one. The truck has its pros in the bed to take bikes and things that we find. It is not as well suited for everyday controlled lack of capability of putting people in the back of the vehicles. And I typically if our officers feel that it's best suited for them, I try to support what they think they need the most now. And then hopefully the grants come through, and the more expensive pickup trucks will cost us less. If they don't come through, yeah, I think we need to start looking at maybe the next one is an outright cost, and that may be the pickup truck.
You can't throw them in the back of a crew cab, or what? I don't know.
Yeah, the cages in a pickup truck is it's usually divided there, and you only do one side. Is that correct, Pat? Right? Isn't the pickup? It's just one.
Because you don't have a trunk for the rest of it, so you get the one side, not the two sides.
One side is essentially your trunk, yeah.
All right.
I had a pickup truck in another department place, and it was just that one. It was just one compartment, one person, and we had SUVs to complement that truck.
And we currently only have sedan, the Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
this-
then would the SUV be able to help assist, like, with simple car assistance to pull them out, or do we, I'm not that familiar.
I don't think we-
Yeah, we don't
touch that.
We do. There's some liability concerns
Okay,
sometimes
yep.
Yeah.
on that. And the sedan, the cars are seemingly going away from production for police vehicles. The Ford Interceptor is certainly the most popular of the police rated
Right, I
vehicles
see what
nowadays.
everyone-
Yeah.
I guess the only question I do have, why is Town and Country cheaper on their truck than they are on their Explorer? And ultimately, it's only $600 more.
Exactly.
Right, so.
For the truck, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I understand the need for the SUV, and I'm okay with that, but Town and Country's local.
Exactly.
And if it's an SUV, okay, that's fine, but at the price difference, to me, it's a local business.
I 100% agree. So,
I don't understand the whole, why they're so much more expensive on a truck than
yeah.
on a country, but
So Chief Wilkie,
I don't know.
unless you're telling us you can't live without this Interceptor for a year, with an SUV, and you're not gonna be able to do your job if we get you the truck, I think that's what I need to hear from you, personally.
Well, we just want a vehicle at this point. The truck makes more sense on the grant that's already figured for that. And it would be more cost savings to the city on that end of it, if we get the grant.
Is our plan to have two trucks and one SUV when we're finally the way we want it? Is that your plan, or is it always gonna be two SUVs and one truck?
To me, it makes more sense to have the two SUVs or a car SUV and a truck. I think more than one truck at a time, I think it starts limiting.
Okay, that's fine, that's why I asked it. So, you're saying the grant, we're still trying to get the grant for the truck?
Yep.
And if we get it next year and we have a truck, then we'll have to buy another truck and not an SUV?
Dan, you're gonna wanna buy the truck, that's what it's figured out for.
Okay. Anything else? Brett?
And also, if even the SUV, the Town and Country Explorer at, it's 52,000, compared to the La Fontaine price of 46. We have budgeted 75, for a vehicle.
Ricky, anything else?
No, I would go with the police recommendation. It sounds like they did their due diligence.
Well, you're gonna be able to motion that right when I ask her it, so. Do I have a motion?
Oh, you telling me to make the motion?
No, I'm not. I'm saying, do I have a motion?
You still have a question?
No, I do not have a question. I am gonna recommend that we purchase,
Is this a motion?
Is
yes,
it a motion?
yes, this is the motion. I
Understand.
make a motion that we purchase the 2025 Ford Explorer from Town and Country of $52,684 is my motion.
I would just add to that, Brett, the other components to that build.
Yep.
That
That was $6,000 more, I understand that.
Yeah, I know, just add like the LCOM and stuff like that in there,
Okay.
just so we know, because that's extra, that for all of that.
Yep. Plus LCOM for $14,091.81, custom signals for $150, and Texel graphics for $2,640, which I don't have a total on exactly what that is,
Yeah, it's all you,
but. Right.
yeah. Can I just I just want to check one thing with Chief Wilkie. From Town and Country, was there any difference in turnaround for the vehicle? Did they have the vehicles, or what was?
I would have to check on that.
Okay. Okay.
Do we know, mechanics-wise and stuff, how well it'll hold up?
The Interceptors?
No, what he's proposing,
The Explorer.
Ford Explorer.
Yeah, that's the Interceptor.
Oh,
Yes.
Basically.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it, all right.
And yes, I do understand it's 6,000 more, but it's local in my opinion. And that was my request to the police department the last time I brought something up, that I would like to see what the local bids were, and they've done that, and to me, it's worth something to stay a little bit local as well.
100% agreement getting local bids and trying to keep the business local, for sure.
So that would be my motion.
Ricky, we have a motion on the floor?
Throwing me for a loop for the first time. I second the motion.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
No.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes. But can we do a caveat?
What does that mean?
Well, that means there was a good question from somebody asked it, Ricky or Dan, about if this thing's 8 months out through Town and Country and we can get it tomorrow from La Fontaine, can we say yes to this as long as there is, can we give it a time frame on delivery?
I think the cleanest way to do it would, the motion has been made, the motion's carried. It'd have to be, to avoid confusion or have an unclean record, I'd suggest that if that was an issue that Chief Wilkie learned about, he brings it back to council.
Okay.
And the parties, the council can make a motion to revisit and/or reconsider the motion itself if something like that comes along that is unforeseen and is unanticipated.
That you're not comfortable with for your needs in the department?
Yep.
So the motion is passed for the Interceptor from the local dealer, so we'll investigate time frame differences from what they can get compared to the others, and if it's significant, we'll bring it back. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, and it's totally up to him. If it's not gonna meet their needs, then we have to don't you guys agree that
We can revisit it.
then we should revisit it, yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
no problem.
Thanks, Pat. Moving on to action item 3, Play by Design, Knights Kingdom Playground Design Agreement. Dan?
So we've sort of talked about this at council about using the rec money from the VP deal to replace Knights Kingdom. And I was trying to look back to remember how much we discussed this with council and kind of the history we found on Knights Kingdom of who built it, which company, and all of that. We have been discussing all that a couple times with the Parks and Rec Committee, which is why I have this here tonight. Ultimately, Parks and Rec, we had a meeting last night, met with this company, and they made the recommendation to council to move forward with this first phase with Play by Design, which is essentially the design phase. So what this is it's an up to a $3,000 cost. It's $250 for the retainer for them to come up here. It's $1,500 for the design, and there's some travel costs. They come up for 2 days. They meet with the community and the kids at the school to discuss what the kids want to see in a playground. They kind of take those ideas and they sketch them out, and then they have a revealing with the community, and then they, from there, if we like what they've done and we want to move forward, then they present an actual project packet. That's kind of the base of what this is. Now, some little history here, because I can't remember if we've gone over it. So, Brett and I had, he had done some research. He's on the Parks Committee about Knights Kingdom. So that playground was built in '93 by a company called Playground by Leathers. And Leathers was out of Ithaca, New York, and they specialized in a new type of design. It was the wood design, it was a flowing function, it was spread out, and they did that all over the country and all over the UP. After an article was ran in the Iron Mountain Daily News about council looking to replace Knights Kingdom, I received an email from a company called Play by Design. They had saw and read that article. And Play by Design is comprised of former employees of Built by Leathers. And a lot of these employees were on our 93 build. So we looked to them as kind of a company that had the same know-how and same development of leathers, and in fact were part of our design and our build in 93. And so that's why we are here with that company. I do have, if you guys would like to watch, I got their website teed up and a couple of videos if you want to see what the community build process looks like and kind of what they do. If you're so inclined, I can play those for you if you'd like.
I have some questions first. Brett, were you part of this?
Yes.
Can you give us a little overview of why you guys went this way?
I think it was more of the nostalgia of the wood Knights Kingdom. I think in talking to the community, that's what they would like to see stay. It's just, it's a little bit different. It's not your typical commercial manufactured metal playground set, right? And Play by Design, as well as Leathers, they are custom. Like they come in, they incorporate the school, they incorporate the community, they try to get as much involvement as possible. And I think that's why we looked in that direction, because it was also something that was, dear to several community members' hearts the first time in '93. So I think just going forward, we'd like to try to stick with that kind of mentality going forward on this project.
So the idea is to go back with a hybrid wood build again? Yeah, I got all kinds of concerns with that, baby.
Yeah, this company is doing it all over the country. They currently are putting one up in Oklahoma.
Okay.
They had no restrictions or no reserves about it being in the Upper Peninsula after one has been here or several have been here, because that was a question that was asked, and they're like, your structure has lasted 22 years, and they're saying the next structure will last 22 years. So, 20 years on a playground set, metal or wood, I think is pretty good.
Here's some from Colorado, Montana. There's one in Alaska, upstate New York. It is a structural composite plastic that they use for these now, so it will should last longer than wood. The slides are more metal and plastic, but the structure itself And we started to look at your tube metal, and our first thought was, is it gonna fit there? Is the community gonna buy that look? And that was before we kind of realized how this was designed and by who. And as soon as we did, we're like, well, there's our playground. You can see it on this end as well as the Leathers website. It looks just like what we have. And I think this is what suits the area, and I think this is what the community would want.
That's terrific. We gotta pay for it. What are we talking? What's the price range on this thing?
We don't know currently until we go through the design.
And that's, so we gotta spend $2,000 just to get an idea what the cost is gonna be.
And that's gonna incorporate, when they go to the school, and get children's input, that will be a basis of what it's gonna cost. We don't know.
You can see where my concerns are, right? We talked earlier when we talked about, allocating money to this project. We said, hey, we're gonna contact, we hear it all the time. These playground equipment places, you contact them and who knows, they might give you half of it, or they might knock 75% off, or this, that, or everything. Now I'm looking at this. That's, what the price tag is gonna be on something like this, guys.
One other aspect of this company, to Dan's point, yes, some of it is made plastic composite. We do also have wood involvement. So the wood aspect of it, if we can meet the criteria with like a Forestland Lumber or another local contractor in kind donations or whatever it may be, it's money off of the project.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's the other aspect of it. And especially when it comes to equipment, same thing with equipment, right? Like if we can find people willing to donate equipment or time or whatever it is, this company is willing to work with. It's just, we can reduce the cost as we go.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, we need a ballpark to understand what we're even looking at, to see if it's gonna be an uphill battle that we can't make, or if it's feasible.
And, the community build aspect of this is a lot of fundraising. The build will be done as it was before, and that's us. They send out some project managers, and the rest of it, we try to get as much donated as possible. When we were trying to get the Spark grant through the DNR, and at that time, we were looking at traditional tubed stuff. I mean, that came in at around $600-some thousand for that. A project like this, we're probably looking at a price tag that's going to be around that. And it seems to be what playgrounds cost everywhere you look nowadays.
The amazing part is that playground that you're looking at right there, took them 6 days to build.
Yeah, great. That's
And
good. No, that's great.
A price tag
It's
of
beautiful.
400 plus.
It's beautiful, right? And we do all the work, or our volunteers do all the work. Ain't that wonderful?
Well, they do a lot of it like.
I know one thing, guys, personally, for me to vote anywhere near yes on this, you better have some comparative bids. Because this is all custom stuff right here. And when you get custom, you get high prices. It's just that simple.
So that's exactly it. If we want comparable bids, then we would have to venture down this road twice of the 2,000 or 3,000, whatever that cost is to get them to do the sketches and everything else.
Right.
And I think the only other company that we can look at is going to be Leathers.
Leathers would be the one that I found, right? That does a lot of custom playground stuff would be Leathers. And these two companies are very, very
The only two that do custom playgrounds. What about playgrounds in general? Package playgrounds, things like that for schools and
lots of companies.
that's
Lots of
what,
companies.
and that's what I want to look at.
And we can do that, right? As far as, we gotta get a footprint first to understand.
Yeah, the big kind of point of this is involving the community and the kids to find out what it is that they would like to see. Something that I don't know, your booked playground equipment, I don't know if they're gonna come down and do that or not. But, like Brett said, we could look at that, and we have gotten some estimates. Our last one was 600 and, I think, 50 or so thousand when we tried to do the Spark grant.
And, I mean, there's a lot of people around here who, that's what I've been hearing, is they love Knight's Kingdom and the nostalgia. I mean, the $2,000 for me, whether we go down this route fully, we are at least looking into what I've heard back from the community that they would like to see. They don't want this super modern playground equipment with chain link fence around it.
let's put into context. We'll round up the population of 3,000 in this town. You're asking for $200 per person, no matter what age, to build your $600,000 palace over there, without even looking at any other options that are box set, cookie cutter, that might cost a third of that. Yes? No?
Your tubes, your cookie cutters, probably gonna be in that 350 to 400,000.
Well,
So it's twice the price.
twice the price.
I think one thing.
But it was also 650,000 for
This
this
is,
program on the same time.
this $2,000 is not signing us to this contract.
Exactly. I have no problem with that. I'm just saying, are we, my opinion, the cart's a little bit in front of the horse, but I get the idea of wanting to look at this, because this is the way we went last time. But I'm cautioning everybody, that's a big number for a town our size.
No, I agree, but it also, it sounds like we'll get a very good visual
Hey,
of the possibility
yep.
of that area, which is what the design phase is about.
And we want the community involvement, there's no doubt, and Knights Camping was a resounding success, with these folks the first time around. That is, I hear that all loud and clear, but that's a big number.
Substantial.
Do I have a motion?
Let's see here. I make a motion that I would, to accept the recommendation by approving the design phase of the new Knights Kingdom Museum Play by Design for up to
It's gonna be, it'd be up to 3. Your packet that I put here, with the yellow tab, gives you, because I didn't have the information when I did this, I spoke with them after the Parks meeting. So in the yellow tab, you'll see there's 3 cost breakdowns, and then what we get for that is 1 and 2 at the yellow tab document.
For, the digital training. For price, up to $3,000.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes?
Moving on, discussion items. Item 1, City of Norway Cable Television Potential Sale. Mr. Stoltman and Mr. Carlson.
So, we have this on tonight to kind of just have a discussion of this. Again, we've been discussing the potential sale of our cable system since June of '22. We held a public hearing in June of '22 to start this discussion. We put out an RFP for the sale of it in the spring of '23. We received a handful of interested parties, and by the end of it, only one was remaining that was interested, and that was Spectrum Charter. Since that time, we started working with them in, December of '23. At a council meeting, we signed the LOI with Charter, and ever since, we've been working on negotiating a potential agreement to bring to council for review. So we've been diligently working on that since that time, and we feel we're getting closer and closer to what we think is a highly vetted potential agreement that will be brought to council hopefully soon. So we wanted to bring this back and just start that discussion and kind of why we're here and how we got here, and just kind of have some thoughts on it.
Mr. Carlson, anything to add?
Echoing Dan's comments, I think at the council's request, I think it's important to always try to do everything we can to keep the community involved in what's going on and keep them updated as to progress on various issues that are important to council, the taxpayers and ratepayers. And this is why it's on the agenda, for one thing. Another thing, it is coming close to conclusion. I think that based upon meetings we've been having over the last number of months, it took some time to basically collect and get the information. Mr. Stoltman has worked tirelessly to getting information with our staff that have been really helpful from what I've observed, getting Dan the information. passing it along to our team, and then passing it along to their team. When I say team, we have meetings, we've been having meetings every few weeks with multiple attorneys, staff members, project coordinators, various experts from on their side as far as making sure this transition, if it does take place, is as smooth as possible for the people that are involved and our customers. Making sure that any process that takes place is for the betterment of the community and betterment of the ratepayers and the subscribers here locally, that this reflects an improvement and not a step back, and that it is for the betterment of the community, the city, and the folks that are subscribing to it. We still are in negotiations finalizing a few matters, and because there is there's agreements that within that letter of intent regarding disclosure of confidential information as we work through it. I think I'd be cautious on making sure we don't get too deep into certain things, but I can tell and report back to council and the community, frankly, that these meetings have been taking place regularly, continuing to winnow down, if you will, and work through items of questions, items of interest, getting answers, making sure that on both sides everybody is as informed as possible, and trying to do everybody's best to make sure there's a smooth transition again when it comes to council for consideration, because we're not there yet. But I would suggest it's in the next few weeks probably that it will be in front of council with consideration and further discussion along the lines of the letter of intent that we signed coming up on 8 months ago probably. And it reflects and would reflect a smooth transition and a situation that is good for everybody. It's ultimately it's reflective. I think Mr. Morrow made the comment at one point. This is a cable and internet system and a phone system that we've had since 1960s, 1970s,
Late 50s, early 60s, I think.
And the question is, it always remains, and it took place with City Manager Anderson before. We're a city government. We provide, you guys provide roads, you provide police protection, you provide infrastructure, you provide water and sewer. And the people in front of you guys had enough foresight to create this cable company, if you will, 60 years ago. We're one of the very few in the state of Michigan. And to have a municipal company like this, it's been very successful for as long as it has and has provided the kind of service. It's a testament, frankly, because there are not many left. But the reason there's not many left is because of the increasing costs for programming, for maintenance, for the technology, and that's what this council recognized as a potential issue, and that's what started us down that path. Is the ultimate question is, as a government, as a city government, or should we be in the business of running a telecommunications company? And I think the council has looked at it and said, I don't know that that's the best situation. Let's look at this and work towards that conclusion, and we should have that proposal and considering for the council's consideration here shortly to consider that.
As you could just stop it, as a government, should we even be in business in any which way or shape, right? I mean, that's a big question. I will say this, I spent a lot of time on that. Anybody that knows me knows I spent quite a bit of time in technology in my previous career before I decided to, cut meat for a living. And technology moves so fast now. This isn't just, hey, build a cable plant and in 10 or 15 years, you look to take the stuff that the money you've made and the resources that you've pulled back out of it and reinvest back into it and do an upgrade, right? This stuff is moving so fast now. We hear the complaints in the community. We understand. So this is one of the ways we went about addressing that situation. So I, for one, would, to back Grant and Dan's words, encourage folks to, call us, come down to the next meeting, come down to City Hall with any questions, concerns you have, and get involved before, we do vote on entering this letter of intent with a potential buyer. And because it's going to be moving rather quick at this point now. I don't know where we hid this. We've talked about this. It's been an open thing for quite a while since this has started. This goes back about a year and a half. For folks that don't remember, we requested an RFP to see what the system was worth, who was interested, and what folks would pay for it. Obviously, those came back to us. 2 bids came back. Just to recap, we started negotiations with the highest bidder, and now we're here. So that's just a recap for everybody for where we're at. Again, to piggyback on Grant just for a sec, I asked Dan to put this on here so you could have that recap for you folks and hear it before there is a vote or a public hearing or whatever our next steps are going to be. Mr. Kramer, do you have any questions, comments on this?
I do not, thank you.
Ricky?
No, I concur with your comments.
Thank you. Okay, so we are planning on putting it on the next meeting for February
That's
19th?
That's my goal. Both sides are kind of finalizing a few things that we each need to review. If both are ready, then we'll.
Right.
we just
Totally understand.
bring up
Yep.
something that's not ready. There's a
Should-
lot of little things to figure it out.
How do you guys feel about putting this back on as a discussion item, so folks can come in next meeting, even if we're, at the very least?
Public commentary?
Correct. At the very least, even if we're not looking to vote on anything, Grant, at that point, at least they can come in and discuss it with us in open forum.
If you're looking to me for that comment, I think as always, again, and this council's done its level best to try to communicate to the public. And that's one of the reasons this is on here. So if anybody has comments, speak now, because the proposal for processing this matter will probably be for your consideration within the next few meetings.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think that's good. We should have a full council next time, so the mayor will be back and hopefully Rico, and we can discuss it as a full council with anybody that decides to come down to the meeting. Okay. Mayor, council comments. Ricky?
No comments.
Brett?
I have none, thank you.
Super Bowl this weekend. Unfortunately, our Lions and our Packers are not in there. But it is a big weekend, I guess, if you're in Philly or Kansas City, right? Dan, any comments?
No, sir.
Kev? Pat?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, motion that we adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Gotta get to do it twice tonight. I get to crack that thing.
Let me see if Brett-
Oh, Andy would never forgive me for going to the alcohol. Hey, I hope I didn't come across very junk. It just was like, holy shit, you know? I gotta